I woke up feeling like I really don't belong. I can't explain it. When I close my eyes, I see a strange reality. Am I dreaming, or on the edge of remembering? You wake up feeling like you really don't belong. You can't explain it, but when you close your eyes you see familiarity. Are you dreaming, or on the edge of remembering? That's right, I walked right away. It's one of those days. Hi, everybody. One of these days, one of these nights. Okie dokie. So, I want to go ahead and work on this rainy day lantern, which comes out to be a pretty nice little shape. I was able to add some weird details there to the side. And after I get it saturated with starch, I'll be able to do even more of that. So I could spray it directly on, and they said that is the fastest way, but then spray goes like everywhere, and I'm not too fond of that. So I got a paper cup, and I'm going to spray it into the cup and apply it with a fan brush. Now after you spray it, it still needs to get put into the fabric, so fan brush is going to work anyway. It's pretty well felted. I didn't felt it to, well, it's pretty strong, but I didn't want it to get any tighter because we're trying to let light through this. And I used dark colors deliberately. Oh, I can't really show it here. Well, it is really pretty with the light coming through it. I can see the light coming through all the white spots. Which is why we did a white layer on the inside, and that came out really pretty because we got a nice swirl of the wool in the bottom. So this lights up nicely, and now I just need to make it a little stiffer, at least, you know, where I want it to stand up. Now this is different. This is made with all the leftover scraps, and it's not as felted as it can be. It's a little felted down here on the bottom. I needled it a little bit yesterday just to make these two pieces to come together. But after watching another video, it's like, well, it's not completely felted. I could possibly felt this some more. So I was thinking of doing that today, but I find repeating myself boring, and I saw another exercise to try, which is a lot more interesting, and that is making a sample. Now I've been wanting to use the llama hair that I got for, well, since I got it, and I saw an example today of how to use viscose with the wool as an entire layer to add a sheen to the top without it, well, becoming completely incorporated. And that was really interesting. So I think I'm going to try that. Instead of using viscose, I'm going to use the llama fur. So we will do a sample, and we'll see how much, well, how well it works. Unlike viscose, llama will felt eventually, but because it doesn't have the barbs on it that the lamb's wool does, it doesn't do as well. It takes a lot longer to felt it, but it's super soft and also extra strong. It is a hollow fur, a hollow hair, which I didn't even know existed. So we're gonna definitely check that out today and make a sample. And the importance of that is I want to make a purse that has, well, mostly llama on the outside because of its silkiness, and that's the side that I'd want, you know, touching my body or my dress. So let's have some water. After I take my lip mask off. It's been that kind of morning, I said. Okay. I have the windows open, and I think the pollen is starting to get to me. So I am going to go and close the windows and turn the air purifier back on. So give me a second here. Okay. Now, as the title of today's show suggests, I have something to say on your angelic or guidance from your loved ones after they've crossed. Some people don't believe that even happens. Sometimes, some scientists have been trying for a long time to negate people's experiences as, just hysteria or wishful thinking. And I understand. Even after my father visited me for 45 minutes, 16 years after he crossed over, it was hard to believe later. I mean, not for a long time, because that's something that just impresses you completely. But after time goes on, you start to wonder, did I really hear Mom's voice? Did I really hear my dog? Was that the shadow of my cat over there, or what the hell? We do have visits when we have loved something or someone, because love doesn't die, and actually neither do we. We just let go of the physical, but we continue existing. In fact, we exist there before we exist here. We're kind of like a streamed television show. Right now, I am living the Adrienne show, or as you know me, Gailyn. And you're living your stream, your show. But that's a kind of a large concept for a lot of people, so I don't force anybody to try and look at things my way. But I take comfort in knowing that we're immortal, or rather eternal. There is no physical immortality. At least not that I'm aware of. I think there's something similar to that in starfish. I'm not really sure, so I have to look that up. Okay, so we're trying to get this really drenched into the felt around the base. It's going to take at least 24 hours to dry. This stuff dries way more slowly than plain water. Also, it's up against glass, which inhibits the evaporation. Yep. So, to continue, when we think of somebody who we're missing, you might say some of their essence is right there immediately with you. Now, if you're feeling a lot of emotion, you're not going to pick them up. Emotion, for any emotion, it's such a physical human experience. When you're really feeling a lot of emotion, you're getting attention. The universe is very well aware of you, but you're not going to be able to hear the universe talking to you as clearly, because you are caught up in your own emotion. So it was that, I grieved my father horribly. When he did show up, it was after I'd already been through all these emotional processes and psychological changes through the loss of my father. And then when he showed up, I was completely at peace. I wasn't having any emotion, good, bad, or ugly, nothing. I was very peaceful that morning, and that was the opening. He needed to come on over. So that is why it's really a good idea to give yourself some moments of peace every day. Let's make sure none of that ends up in my tea. When you get in the habit of just being quiet, not all day, just for a few minutes, it's like opening the door for your guidance to be more easily heard. Now, it never stops talking to you. Like you're walking around thinking you're alone, you're never alone. The larger part of you is right there behind you like a big angel. And any time you're faced with something, it's right there to go, hey, walk over here, or pick that up. You get these impulses that just feel very natural and the right thing to do in the right moment. Now, sometimes it's something you're not expecting to do. It's just a last moment thing, like Maui being inspired to pick up his shovel at just the right moment. And it's that is the way we are spoken to, or spoken through. So it's the important thing is don't start questioning right away. Just if you stop and go, hey, why did I suddenly feel like crossing the street? I don't see any reason to. Well, you're in trouble as soon as you stop and question that, because if you're being told cross the street right now, it's an impulse. Your body just wants to cross the street, even if you're not really sure why. And that is your higher guidance just flowing through you. And there's always a reason for it. Now, I will say, we do play with ourselves and each other, because life is not meant to be as serious as we make it. And we do laugh. We don't have mouths to laugh, but the laughing energy is there, you might say. So we will play with ourselves, like scaring ourselves, and like children at play. But there's nothing to be afraid of here. Now, humans, there's all kinds of humans with their own agendas. And the reason they have bad agendas sometimes is because they're not listening to their higher self. They're completely ignoring their higher self. Because your higher self wants you to be happy, and it will direct you toward happy things, things that benefit you without harming others. And if that's not the way it's being played out, then they're cut off. Voluntarily, they're just not hearing it. But I guarantee you, behind every idiot is someone going, no, this way, shh, this way. If you would stop just getting all bowed up, you could hear me. So Spirit's always talking to you. But there are times when we are more drawn to the spirit world, usually following a loss or something we really can't understand. And suddenly we're there thinking about something that we haven't thought about in a long time, or a person we haven't thought of in a long time. And information, as long as you're not having this reaction, negative reaction or overexcited reaction, information comes through, guidance comes through. You can ask questions, and you will hear. You will okay. You don't usually hear things with your ears, your human ears. You kind of hear them. We all pick up this stuff a little differently. That's why they have different words for people who seem more psychic. Clairaudient, you hear clairvoyance, you see. It's claircognizance, just knowing. The clear is clear, so like clear seeing, clear hearing. You're receptive in different ways and at different times, because we're just simply built differently physically. And little weird things, like I have a weird physical thing in my left ear, which right now is really irritating. But I never noticed anything until I started picking up earthquakes, and I would get this very, very, very high-pitched sound. It would tell me the earth was about to move, or the earth was already moving, and I could hear the sound before we were impacted. This was so reliable when I was living in California. I spooked my first husband with it, and I couldn't wait to move out of Southern California, because I grew up on the East Coast, where we actually do have an occasional earthquake, but usually so mild you don't even realize it happened, and they're just not frequent the way they are in some parts of the world. Well, it turns out there is a physical anomaly, as I suspected, but years and years ago I thought it was some kind of a psychic ability. How come I can tell when an earthquake is going to hit? This is not fun if I can't save lives. There must be a reason, and I was looking for a reason. Like, how come I can hear this and nobody else can, and this is scary? And then it wasn't so scary as frustrating, because nobody would believe me, even though, like, once I really pissed my husband off by, we were going fishing one morning, and I could see it, I could feel it, and it's like, all right, probably in the next 15 minutes we're gonna have an earthquake. Yeah, sometimes I got additional information, not just hearing the sound. And while we're driving, and I'm seeing the waves in the road that haven't started physically yet, but I'm seeing them. I wrote on a note, it's like, we're gonna have an earthquake within the next 15 minutes, and I wrote the time down, and I put it in my pocket. And I was just serene. I was like, it's not gonna be a bad one, but we're definitely gonna have one. And sure enough, we're sitting there on the side of the reservoir, and we're getting ready to go fishing. And then a couple of things happened, and I'm still standing like really calm, like da da da. A fish jumped out of the water, and then the coyotes started howling, and then silence, and then the pebbles started rolling down the hill around us. And he was like, holy shit, we're having an earthquake. And I'm like, yep. And when it was over, I took the piece of paper out of my pocket and I handed it to him. Boy, was he pissed. You think he'd be like curious. I would be if it was the other way around. It's like, wow, that's really cool. How the hell did that happen, and why? And is this a psychic phenomenon, or is it a physical manifestation? It's physical. But when it first started, like I said, it was very mysterious and nobody had answers. It was nothing that they could see by observing the inside of my ear. But then many years later, like 20 years later, National Geographic had a back page about a Sherpa who had what they called crying ear. And he basically experienced exactly what I was experiencing, only in his case, instead of earthquakes, he was detecting avalanches just before and he would get his people off the mountain before there was trouble. So somebody with a crying ear, they weren't looked at like they were crazy in the Sherpa world. They were like, oh, we need one of them on our expedition. So I was very gratified to see that you know, I wasn't psychic or crazy. It was, like I suspected by then, a physical ability that had nothing to do with being psychic. And now science has gone further and has proven it. There is a sound, and some of us do hear it or feel it, and it doesn't mean anything particular, because you can't stop an earthquake from happening just because you pick it up in your airwaves or earwaves. Okay, this is getting good and saturated now. And we're getting some cool texture, but not quite enough. So I am going to wrap a string. Let's see if I can get this a little bit more interesting here. Now, actually, I think what I'm going to do is turn it upside down, and we're going to flare out these edges now that they're dripping with goo. But we'll want that on plastic here. Now, this is going to take a while to dry, but it's going to be good and stiff. And I do want the bottom to be good and stiff that way, so yeah. Now, a piece of plastic that I rolled on. The last use for this one. Ew. Well, I happen to have some gloves for this. Anyway, people pray all the time. And I always say, praying is when you're talking to God or Source, and meditation is when you shut up and listen. Well, when you're just busy living your life and you want to connect, the secret is really to just chill out. You really seriously have to relax about things. If you start getting all tense about somebody talking to you from the other side, you definitely aren't going to pick anything up, because you need to be almost non-committal, really relaxed. You're never alone, and just because you can't hear or see somebody at the moment, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It takes practice, relaxing your brain. Why don't I make this a little easier on myself? Usually I do this on the, what do you call it? My rotary table thing. For a moment, the word escapes me. All right, definitely is not soaked enough. the dripping apparently was just coming from the outside. Alright. I am just rubbing it in with my fingers. As you can see this right here. I want it to be really wet so I can shape the edges. And right now it's really fluffy. Well, at least the smell is not unpleasant. It's an old familiar smell. I can feel that is really fluffy on the other side. Gonna need some more help. Alright, now I think I need to get another string. Oops. Now the fuzzy stuff will be shaved off. I raised a bunch of it in rubbing it, but it's starting to look cool. But it does need a, I'm gonna get a ribbon. I have more of this. Okay. There we go. A little more petal-like. Okay, I now just have to set this up on a towel, or actually, it can go back up this way now, so the bottom can dry too. And I'm going to get this completely off the table because, well, I don't want to have a little accident with it. I have a turntable over here where it'll be safe. Lovely. All right. One more thing for the wash. No. Now this is going to be a test, so we're not going to use a lot of wool in it, and I'm going to go with something I've got a lot of. Okay, so we're just going to keep those over there. Oh yeah, you beautiful thing. I have to starch this also, but I need to get the right vase out for that. So you just wait there. Okay, so we're finally going to get a chance to try llama hair. Oh, wait a second, that's not llama hair. That is regular wool. Let me get the llama hair. I forgot it's with the black. Here it is. This amazing stuff. Let's see, okay. Come here. Have to leave that here. That is to finish up another purse. We don't want anything to happen to that. Okay, let's go with the color I have a lot of. I just bought this thinking about doing this, but I'd like to see some more contrast just for the sample. So I think I'm going to go with, oh, why don't we go with that, because I need to use that up. Alright, that should be enough. It's just a sample. And I don't want to waste wool I have kind of earmarked for a purse using the llama. But if I don't get the hang of how to work with it, I'll never get that purse done. So that's why today we are going to do our first test of mixing our fibers. Now, if I do this correctly, it should shrink really well. Now, we're just doing a one-sided sample. It's not going to be a purse. It's just going to basically end up being a piece of felt. And hopefully I do correctly. So we will start with the dark brown. I just want a piece of paper for our little guide here. Hello there, I am alive. A miracle that it is. How are you today, dear? Are you off or just, am I catching you between shifts? Hey, come on, this is the crappy wool, that's why I want to use it up. But it is real wool. It'll felt like everything else, just it's more of a drag to lay out because it's basically been through hell. Well, I can say the same to you, Daddy, Cat Daddy. I'm no more a mother because I no longer have children. But I still remember them all with love. Yeah, you know what? You need to come up with another thing to say. Because there's nothing that sounds positive about that, Maui. It sounds like you're getting ready to make a complaint, even though I know you're just making an observation. But it's kind of like the Wicked Witch of the West after she gets drenched with water. What a world! What a world! You're not my children. I would have raised you better. Oh, thank you for being here. Good to see you. We're doing a mixed fiber experiment. This is going to be a sample. So we're going to see how it works. I learned how you handle the extra fibers today. So did your son wake you up to walk the hall? And you never answered me. Did you let Mrs. Kravitz or Miss Kravitz into your apartment? Did you let her actually cross your door? All right. Sister, that's fine. Mother, I'm not old enough to be your mother. I'm old enough to be Gary's mother. Tiny hands, big heart. I don't have tiny hands. Are you talking to me? Compared to the rest of me, I actually have a pretty good finger span for playing the piano. Oh, good, good. Just you remember not to let her do that. That's already a level of intimacy that you can't afford. But I'm so glad you guys are here because I was pondering a question after watching a video this morning, and reflecting on, the loneliness that people feel. Even, we have our lives and we're content, but we need human companionship. Maybe not every day, but we do need some of it. So the question is, we were talking yesterday about how hard it is to flirt because we don't really know how to flirt. We don't know if we're picking up the right signals. The question is, what signals are we sending? Like, okay, let's say I go to a bar and I don't drink, so I don't go to a bar. But let's say, okay, I take myself out to lunch because I do that now and then. So I'm at the casino and I love going to the casino. No, I don't gamble or drink. But there's all this room to walk around and all these windows you can look in, all these stores. And you can get a lot of exercise without being unsafe, I don't have to worry about being on the street. I don't have to worry about any of that. It's just go for a walk. But let's say I'm in the flirtatious mood, and I'm not usually anymore, but I keep my eyes open because I'm like any normal human being. I do like men. Okay, any hetero woman, let me redefine that. I do like men. I don't want to date any at the moment, but I do like men. Also, I like beauty, so I tend to look around wherever I go, and I see first what's beautiful to appreciate. And when you go out with the headset to look for beauty, you do find it, and it makes for a good, interesting walk because you're tuned for looking for beauty, and you're going to find all kinds of stuff to ooh and ah at. I always do. But if I wanted to attract a guy's attention, that is a good question, It's not like the old days. Also, given my age, that changes the way you do things anyway. Because honestly, part of our brain, part of us doesn't age. Not really, not fast. So when we're 70, we're still attracted to young people. Now, I'm not saying that this is anything close to, getting horny for minors. I'm saying that I can look at a man in his 20s, 30s and go, damn, he's cute. Would I hit on that? No. But would I stop long enough to notice, like, that's a cutie pie? And long enough to go, God, some good girl is going to be lucky. At least, I think. So I guess what I would do is let's say I'm walking around the casino. I think I'm going to take this layer off. I'm going to put all the same color down there. Okay, I'll say I spot a guy. I think he's good looking. He looks clean, well dressed, composed, not smoking cigarettes, can't stand cigarettes. I'll just say that off the top, he looks like, yeah, appealing. But you don't know how appealing a person is until you get to talk with them, because they could be total idiots in ways you have zero interest in bringing into your life. But you're not going to know that until you can get a conversation going. Well, I like people who hold good conversation, so that's kind of easy. If I find an excuse, and I will find an excuse if I can, to start a conversation, which could be as simple as we're both looking at the same thing in the same store, and I go, make a comment about the thing we're both looking at. Because if the person has half a brain in their head, they're going to respond. If they can't think of something to say about what they're looking at in response to me admiring it, the same thing they're admiring it, then it's already no interest. Any guy I'm going to want to have a talk with, he's going to have to be interesting enough to help start a conversation. Now, if I think he's just caught off guard, because sometimes, people are caught off guard, they're not expecting someone to make a sound when they're around them. Sometimes you got to give them a second chance, because guys and girls can be slow on the uptake. So I would probably see if there was a second opportunities to start a conversation. Now, when at all possible, I try to make a joke. I like to get people laughing. Now, I don't tell jokes. I suck at that. But I can find humor in a situation, or if we're looking at something I find amusing, I can make a comment and make it funny. Again, if I want to interact with somebody, it means I'm already inspired. Now, I don't know what that is. I know what this is. Since I don't know what that is, we're just going to remove it. Okay, this is llama hair. And God knows what that is, but we're not going to incorporate it. I have not worked with raw hair like this before, llama hair. It is super fine. It's like silk. Now, I have a feeling I'm going to have to comb this. So how would you flirt with somebody? I mean, you spot somebody, you're out, and you go, hey, that looks interesting. I wonder if that person is interested in blah, blah, blah. What are you going to do? How do you start a conversation with a stranger to express your interest? Do you smile at them from across the room? Do you help them get something down from a shelf? And you make sure you have eye contact with a smile? All that's important. I have noticed that a lot of men, of course, with good reason, these days, because of the Me Too movement, you have to be careful that no one misunderstands your motives, right? You just want to meet somebody. You want to be able to have a nice conversation with somebody. It doesn't mean you want to have sex with them, but we don't live just by sex. We have to have feelings of warmth in our lives. Now, you can do fine with just your dogs and cats, or without any of that, because obviously I'm doing great. I do not need a mate to make me feel good about myself or make life worthwhile. I still do enjoy the company of men and would have no problem going out for coffee or dinner, well, preferably lunch. I like to see everybody in daylight. You've not been, oh, pray on a mate, my personal choices have not been good. Well, that's why I'm questioning, all right? First of all, you only learn to make good choices by making bad ones. So don't condemn yourself. There's no other way to learn. Seriously, there is no way to learn about what makes a good partner for you until you have had a bad partner or several, because that's what teaches you. Just like there's no marriage manual. They can write all they want, but when you actually live with a person, life changes. And if it's a legal marriage, it changes drastically. For some reason, people get weird once they have that piece of paper. It's like a property license. Not everyone, but it's frequent. I can understand people's trepidation about getting married. But that's not where we're going. The first thing is, how do you develop a friendship with someone, anyone? I saw some clips of men being really sarcastic, like, well, how am I supposed to meet a guy? Just like go up and start talking to him? Yes. Guys at least have sports. You know, if you can get into the same sport, you've got instant friend. You're on the same team. You can root for the same people. You know some names because you're watching the same team. Guys have it easy when it comes to that. Women don't. Women have all the other common stuff that women have, but if you're a woman looking for a man, your priorities are different. You know, especially like at this age, obviously I'm not looking for a father for future children. No man ever has to worry about that, even though I've never wanted children. But it's easier when you're older and you go, oh yeah, well, that person is not after me as a husband for that, so I'm good. We can just go and have fun and enjoy our older years without the weight of childcare. Okay, that looks pretty bizarre. They call that the cloud layer. Who's condemning themselves? I'm not talking about you condemning yourself. And I know you're not interested in a mate, Gary. However, at some point we all need friends, and you do have some friends. Do you not? There's somebody you have come over every once in a while. You don't want it to develop into anything with a heavy agenda, but you do have someone that you communicate with at least once a month. Well, the question, Maui, is again, if you're focusing on the problem, you're going to find the problem. You have to focus on what it is you desire. Fuck the hidden agendas or bizarre agendas, because everybody has an agenda. They want a friend or they want a partner. And when you're older, you just want a partner. You want someone you can hang with and feel safe with. But that is a lot to ask if you don't get out there and meet somebody, right? But so you have to focus on what it is you want. When you see a woman, aside from her bottom, what is it that you are looking for in a partner? And if you start the story with what you don't want, you're fucking yourself over. Okay? You got to stop that conversation. That's where you're screwing up. You're focused on the bizarre. You're only going to attract more of that. because that's where your attention is. Your focus has to be on what you desire. So again, if you're out in public and you want to meet somebody, what is it that you were looking for? What is it that makes you go, I'd like to meet that person? Like, I'm not out there to meet anybody specifically. When I go out, I just go out. And I always expect to have a good time. That is me. I expect to have a good time. I believe in this present world, I have what I have prayed for, peace of mind. Then that is what you need. Peace of mind. Now see, I never have peace of mind when it comes to this world, because I have no control over this world. I have peace of mind knowing that the worst thing that can happen is that I croak and I just go home. And again, if you're focusing on the shit parts of this current world, you're not doing yourself a favor. And that's the point. That's what we talk about. It's what are you attracting into your world, into you personally? Just like, yes, there can be assholes outside every single day, every day out there, somebody looking for trouble. That doesn't mean you're going to be bumping into them, because when your vibration is high, it doesn't match their trouble vibe. Unless you're focused on it, you will attract it. You're fearing it, that's an attraction. You're thinking about it, that's an attraction. There's no word no, all right? God says yes to every vibration. So when you're thinking about what you don't like, you are giving it strength, because God's not judging. God holds no judgment over your desires of any kind. It's always a yes. Whether it's good for you or not, that's another issue you have to take up. But God doesn't question. He says, this is what you want, this is what you'll get. I'm good with it. How about you? Delicate. You can't rub the side with the other fiber, only the wool side. And that's what I learned today, and that's really important, because that was something I needed to hear before I start working on the silk. The fibers are too delicate, and they will move like crazy when you don't want them to. So right now we're just like battening everything down. This is the wool side, and that lighter brown is the middle layer, and then on top of that, on the other side, we've got the llama. Well, it doesn't smell bad. That's a good thing, because you never know with fur, you know, is it going to be a good smelling thing, or is it going to smell like the barn? Now, I love meeting new people. I want to know where they've been, what they've done, what their stories are. If they have anything about them that seems different or interesting. Like, there is a woman locally who manages a dollar store. And we don't ever have a time where we can actually chat, because, you know, when you're managing that kind of a store, you are busy nonstop. And especially at the beginning of the month. And with right now all the prices going up. Like I said, my dollar vase became a $3 vase. I bought it anyway because I needed a mold for my hurricane lamps. But she has a car. Her other job is a paint room, the kind where you load balloons full of paint and throw darts at them over a canvas. Basically, it's how to have a lot of fun making a mess with paint. So I guess she caters to parties and stuff like that. And I think that's adorable, because you can't make ends meet just doing a job like that, because life isn't just about your work. If it's just about your work, I'm sorry. You're not here just to be your work. You're here to have fun. And if work is fun, then perfect. That was something I tried to have in all of my jobs, an element of fun. I know a lot of people suffer from a kind of a depression that requires medication, and they can't seem to get beyond that. They need that medication. No amount of therapy seems to help. So I know there are people with genuine, bona fide chemical imbalances. Now, with schizophrenia, that's very clear. That's a medical, it's not a mental health thing, other than your physical stuff is affecting your mental health. That's fun. I've done that. Not on Christmas, but I took my Victrola outside to the front and played music for the neighborhood, such as it was. So what happened? Was that just a quick flash? What happened when you brought it out to play music for people? What a good kid you were. That's a thing of love right there, sharing music. That's awesome. I need a bigger piece. Hold on. I say I need a second piece. Let's take a look at the llama side. Wow. That is shiny. That is so shiny. Now I see where there is room here, where the other color is coming up from behind it. I'm going to leave that though, because I want that effect, and I want to see this. How it works out. So again, we can't, until it starts felting, it's just too delicate to work from the llama fur side. You got to stick with the sheep. Now I can get more soap. Back then no one said anything about it. Well, that's wonderful. Now, doesn't that feel great? You feel like you're giving to the greater good, don't you? Oh, this is heavy soap. Can't squeeze this big bottle. There, finally. I used to like to put on shows for the neighborhood. One day I decided to do the Firebird Ballet, and I brought my Victrola out front and played the Firebird Ballet in this little suburb neighborhood, and did pretend ballet on the lawn. And I don't remember anybody actually watching. I may have had some little kids from next door or something, I don't know. You were appreciated back then, you just didn't know it because you were too young and you did not know how people expressed their, or didn't, or couldn't express their appreciation. People appreciate us all along the route, but if we're not appreciating ourselves, we don't notice. Hopefully, as time goes on, you'll remember when people did appreciate you and they reminded you of that. There's someone on the other side saying they appreciated the hell out of you, and that was when you were in the Army. But I don't know where they're from, so I can't help you with that. But you were definitely more appreciated than you knew. We do like that, right? We want to be appreciated. That's more important than love even sometimes. That's why people need appreciation at work. They have to be shown that they matter in the job. And unfortunately, usually just they throw you a raise to show you their appreciation, but we need more than just money. It's not the money that makes the job. Yes, we need it, and yes, we need those raises. But the most important factor is how we're treated. That is true, especially if they were poor. And why? Because of pain. The pain of life, the pain of disappointment. So we drink and do drugs. Nobody does drugs, maybe in college, you know, just to try something. But nobody gets addicted, cigarettes aside, unless they are in pain. It has to be an emotional pain that people are trying to escape. Now, physical too. Remember, I remember early on with my back, before I got pills for it, the pain could be really bad. And I discovered the only thing that really killed the pain was booze. Booze is literally the only thing that kills all the pain. You can't feel shit when you're loaded. But as I became a happier person, I tended just to drink less and less. But then one day I just couldn't drink at all. And that had nothing to do with anything but my physical being. I heard my older brother that Dad was the neighborhood boobs runner? What is a boobs runner? Boobs or booze? Well, in the projects, you tended to be known because of everybody in the same neighborhood. I'm hoping that it's booze, not boobs, and that was just a typo. Yeah, there we go. Yep. Not great for the children, but normal. That's pretty much what happens in poor neighborhoods. You need escape from it. You need escape from the fact that the world is making you into a failure, that the world sees you as a failure, and the world wants you to be a failure because you're black. America. So I get it. I get why people got strung out on shit. Life was not offering anything better. no opportunities, no good wages. If you got that kind of a gig, you were one of the luckier ones, which is sad, just plain sad. Yeah. Oh yeah, well, you know, New York is like that. I lived in Yonkers, so Yonkers was kind of like, there was kind of a lot of splits in the town because we had factories and we had mill housing that was put out there really fast, cheap, and dirty for the poorest of the poor who worked in the mills. And they were, I was inside one. Oh, by the time I got to see the inside of one, the mill had already been long closed. The people who worked there descended into poverty if they couldn't get another job, and booze. And those buildings were so poorly made that when I was walking one, the building was slanted. I mean, when I say slanted, the entire building was on a slant. The stairs were crooked. Everything about it was like, how do you keep shit on your table? It was a scary situation. It's like, it's mill housing. Everybody's house is like this. Just, it looks like it's going to blow over in the first storm, you know? But sure enough, there was a liquor store or a pub everywhere. There was the neighborhood pub. My first place I sang was a neighborhood pub, because I got a part-time job there as a cocktail waitress. I wasn't actually old enough to be a bartender, but I could carry the stuff around as long as I stayed in the restaurant part of it, not near the bar. Lots of little laws to make sure they stayed safe, and so did I. But booze, that was the easiest thing to get. Still is. Even in North Carolina, where it's state-run, alcohol is state-run. The beer you can get at the grocery store, but if you want anything harder than that, you have to go to the liquor store, the ABC store. And they kept track of every single thing you bought. You had to register every purchase with your driver's license. This is North Carolina, because alcohol was such a problem there. And the moonshiners, they didn't wait to buy booze, they made it themselves, which wasn't a good idea. But that's how much people like alcohol. And unfortunately also, it's one of the worst things for your liver. They have proven there's no safe amount, that every bit of it is toxic to the liver, and your ability to not just have a bad liver is just your genetic luck. So I'm glad that I don't drink anymore, but I'm not going to say I don't like it. I love booze. I love the flavor of alcohol. I just love alcohol. It just doesn't love me anymore. Now that I'm on chemo, it's like, why add to the self-cleaning process? The liver needs all the support it can get. But occasionally I will take a little sip of, what's that one that's mostly milk? Bailey's Irish Cream. I keep a little 1 ounce thing in my refrigerator, and occasionally I'll take a little taste off of it. It's like, that's yummy. Or occasionally when I cook with wine, I have a very nice white wine that I use. Which reminds me, I haven't cooked with that wine and I need to use it up. Turns out those young fruity wines don't last forever. You've got to use them up. So next time I use it, I'll have a little sip of it. That's a really nice wine. But that's it for my drinking anymore. Because with the prices of it, I don't mind not doing it anymore either. But, oh yeah. Did you get into booze when you got older, Maui? Once I discovered weed, I couldn't care less about booze except for the flavor. Love tasting different liqueurs like, oh, Midori by itself is disgusting. It's honeydew melon liqueur, green, sweet. But a little bit of that in a glass of pineapple juice over ice is amazingly refreshing. You don't get high on it. Well, I guess I would by now, this day. But that's because I can't hold my liquor anymore. But back in the day, you wouldn't really feel anything when you drank it, but it tasted so good. And I have almost purchased a bottle of Midori just to have it with pineapple juice. But then you look at the price and you go, do I really need this? You know what's really weird about this age? I was around for the first release of Bailey's Irish Cream. I was a bartender at the time. We were one of the first people in the state of Connecticut to carry it. Nobody really wanted to try it. And we were like, yeah, we'll take a couple bottles. And oh my God, well, you know what happened with Bailey's. It took off like a rocket. And a couple others were the first time out. I think we were able to get the first Bushmills single malt scotch. And what was the other one? There was another liqueur. I was not tending bar, but I was around when Midori was released to the public. Yeah, see, my sisters, we were raised by my father did not drink, my mother did not drink, but my stepfather was an alcoholic. And we always had booze. Right. You see, my sisters, when they were younger, overdid it. And now as adults, they can't stand any alcohol. Like I said, if I could drink, I'd probably have a drink every week. I love it, but it's not agreeable. I don't get high on it anymore because, you know, you just stop that when you get older anyway. It doesn't give you the same laughs. But now none of us are drinkers, and you know, better for us. But like I said, I do miss the flavors. I mean, some things you can have like virgins, like a virgin pina colada or a banana or strawberry daiquiri. You don't have to put alcohol in them, and they're really delicious. Matter of fact, the problem with those daiquiris is you don't taste the booze in them. Glenn and I had a I don't know, I think it was banana daiquiri for our wedding night toast after the wedding. We were still dressed up, and I think we couldn't shake some of the people with us. It was one of those things. So we ended up going into a bar and ordering a drink for the celebration. We got these big gold goblets. We were so crocked after one drink. There was no having a second one, but it snuck up on you. You didn't feel it. You didn't taste it. It was just yummy, like a milkshake without it being as thick as milk. And that was the only one I've ever had in my life. I have never been out since to a bar where I would order a drink. The first time I had beer, I had a draft beer with my friends. I was ready to write a song to it. To the head on the beer. I was so crocked. So I learned, okay, beer and I do not get along as much. I was actually trying to drink beer to gain weight, believe it or not. I was barely cracking 100 pounds, and I really wanted a little more fat on me, and it wasn't happening. And people said, oh, drink beer and eat bananas, and that'll put the weight on you. And I guess that's from an old military thing, like people having to gain weight really fast to get enlisted back in the times of war, when they wanted to enlist. Let's see, booze used to be the lubricant, the social lubricant. And if you don't drink, well, that's one less excuse to go out and meet people. The nice thing about the bar was, it was basically, you know, back then it was a safe place in general. That was before people were putting things in your drinks, you know, but we didn't have to be that paranoid back then. And if you had a drink and the woman had a drink, you were just loose. You were lubricated, as they say, and it was easier to start a conversation. And the unfortunate side of that is that what you see out under those circumstances are the people's masks, social masks. And you see not the best side of people when they're loaded. We let loose those things that people should just keep to themselves all the time. And everybody does that. It's just a natural thing. But it's not the most attractive thing. Now, one of the ways men used to meet women was in a restaurant or bar situation where they would pay for their woman's drink, buy her a drink, send a drink over to that person. And then you at least had an excuse to go and smile at them. And if they were interested, they would come over and talk to you. And if they weren't, they would say just thank you and ignore you. And then you knew, without having to go any further than buying a drink, if that person was interested in going further with you or not. I don't know if that much of that happens now. I honestly, what? Now, you can't trust everybody that starts out honorable like that. I had a guy come up to me. My girlfriend and I were having food at a nice Indian restaurant. And it was just a girls' afternoon. We had been to the Renaissance Fair. We had just gotten back into town and we were hungry. And so we decided, hey, it's too early for the day to end. Why don't we just go and have some Indian food? And we did. And we were still dressed up. And we did look good. But I was dressed like a, I don't know, long skirt and blouse, you know, like a summer maiden kind of a thing. I wasn't in my rogue's costume, in other words. Usually, when I went to the fair, I was all in black with my daggers and all that. But that time I was more the maiden because I went in with a big basket of wisecrack eggs to hand out. Hold on, I'm getting a towel here. So this guy, he does all the right social things, right? He sends the waiter over to give me a message, which I do not remember clearly what it was, but it was basically he wanted to meet me. And I was like, well, that's never happened before. He sent the waiter. Good taste. It was a nice restaurant, respectable, and I asked the waiter, I said, do you know him? He said, well, he's a good customer. And I was like, okay. And I guess a decent tipper, because I judge people by how they tip. So I said, okay, I'll meet him. And the guy comes over and introduces himself. I wasn't expecting him to be a famous person, but right now he is. He wasn't back then. He definitely had money because he had a Ferrari. Of course, red Ferrari. He did everything right. I agreed to go out on a blind date with him, which basically blind, but he gave me his card. I gave him the okay to call me. We arranged a date. Very very civil, okay? Not a grasping kind of a thing. Well, long story short, he shows up with a bouquet of flowers, drives me to, I think it was like a Red Lobster. It was a nice restaurant, steak, lobster, whatever. But that's when I started to see the bad side of him. He had a serious drinking issue, and he became a different person when he drank. When I say different person, that was the first time in my life I saw something on a person's face that scared the shit out of me. Because it was like looking at a person, and you see that smiling face, and then there's a flash of evil. I mean, like a darkness comes over the face, and it's a scary darkness, like, okay, did I see that? I doubted myself because I'd had a few sips of my drink. That's all I had, though, because I was starting to feel like this guy is like, he's got booze at every stage. He's got to have the wine here. He's got to have the appetizer drink. He's got to have a drink with the appetizer. He's got to have another drink with this. When I didn't want to finish a drink, he finished my drink. Very big red flag. And I don't know how much he drank by the time we got to dessert. But by dessert, I just wanted to go home because it was starting to scare me. And on the ride home, I feel I was lucky to make it home alive because he started talking about not suffering a sorcerer to live. He was like quoting Old Testament shit. And I thought, oh, maybe that has something to do with his first name being Adam. Like, this guy is really scaring me. I did not go on a second date with him, obviously. But the average girl, I think, who was not as astute, would have been swayed by his... He was very, very good looking, very fancy, nicely taken care of car, dressed like a mensch for sure, okay? Like, really nicely dressed. Everything about him was proper. I mean, like classic, perfect etiquette, the right signals for all that, but all wrong. There was like an underlying current with this guy that made me feel like I better not ever get in a car with this man again. I never want to be alone with this man again. And when I got out of the car, it was as fast as I could. I think he walked me to the door because that's part of the protocol. I think I might have let him kiss me on the cheeks, you know, a cheek or something, but it was like, I'm not inviting him in. I felt like if I invited him in, it was like literally asking the devil to come across my doorway. That's how scary he had become. And I'm trying to act really cool, you know? I'm trying to like, okay. A girl in Florida, that's scary. It is a scary thing. Did her face flash that evil too, where it made you feel like, holy shit, I gotta get out of here? I never forgot that man because of the weirdness of the whole thing, how much he frightened me, but also, like I said, it was the first time I saw this darkness. It would come and go, and it's like, okay, well, maybe it's my eyes, the lighting. I was making up excuses like, what am I seeing here? Because I don't believe in evil as an inherent quality. I don't believe in evil. I do believe people do evil things, but I do not believe they are controlled by an evil force, because there's only one source of all, and that is basically fundamentally love. But that doesn't mean his spirit wasn't soured. No, he was not. It was California. That's where we met, in California. And he was clearly well-to-do. He'd made some good money. I really can't remember what he said he was doing back then. Because, like I said, you know, although we had conversation and I asked questions, and I did hear, he ended up being so scary that the rest of that shit just went right out of my brain. Yeah, yep, that's a problem person, problem drinker, definitely. Yeah, this guy was like, yeah, before alcohol, he was like perfect gentleman. But I never forgot about him because of that. But then I was freaked out and a bit appalled to see that he has become famous. And I do see him from time to time in a commercial. He's doing his own commercials. And he's in the petroleum industry. Big shock. So when I see him, it's like, yep, you're the guy. You gained a little weight since I've last seen you. You definitely got older, but you still look good. And now that I see you with the business you're in, I know you're a bad man. So, yeah, you got to trust your gut with everybody. This guy definitely wants a trad woman he can cheat on. Or drug and rape. I mean, he is a bizarro human. I would not ever want. No. No, this guy is currently, I see him at least once a week in a commercial here on YouTube. He's raising money for his oil wells or something, I don't know. You want to invest? He's looking for investors. It's like, yeah, nothing could ever make me. No. He's a sick man involved in a sick industry, so like no surprise there, but definitely steering clear. How are we doing? Nope, we can still do more foil to felting. A little more water. Get that soap going. Oh, I learned how to make a purse handle today. Way easier than what I'm doing. So I'm going to be doing that too. Not today. Because it was more of a purse handle, but I can make it into a rope. Now, Diddy, another kind of evil. He's just perv evil. You know, I remember growing up hearing people say, money changed that person. They got rich and then they became a dick. And I said, no, money brings out the character that already existed. It doesn't change you. If you were a good person to begin with, then you do good things with your money. Like Keanu Reeves. There is a difference. Okay, that is retaining its shine like crazy. But I don't think it's... Yeah, we'd have to more felting to do. But it's got the same kind of a sheen that viscose has. So we need to felt this a lot more. So I saw another technique, which turned out I was already starting to practice. This makes a tighter felting. Apparently you can over felt it to where it becomes too stiff, which is good for different products, obviously. Like this. This is a felted pad with a piece of sponge in it. This felt is really, really dense. It's hard to get the needle through it, but that's the idea because it's for the needle felting. But I would not want to make something this felted to wear. Sculpture, yeah, that'd be cool. Now, see, I would not want to meet somebody in a bar because, obviously, as a non-drinker, I don't want to run the risk of running into somebody I might like, but who has an alcohol problem, because I've met those too. I had a couple of really lovely customers back when I was in art supplies. Okay, Doc. And then one day, one of them came in way loaded to do the shopping for the company that he was working for. And it's like, oh my God. No, thank you. But we'll see how much this shrinks with the llama fur on it. this while I get my tea. Ooh. Okay, we're starting to see the meshing of the wool. That's what I wanted. Yay! It's happening. But don't rub on the side. Now, if this does what I'm hoping, well, next time I will have to make sure that I put a lot more wool down, or the llama fur. It's my first time trying to do anything with the llama fur, and it is beautiful. I love the colors. It goes from the deepest black, chocolatey black, to this beigey, lighter brown. And I saw a picture of some llamas that are used for fur, and it was really cool to see their legs put out these long locks, and one of them looked the same as I just bought 7 ounces of fur. And it looks like someone just, you know, washed them and then cut it all off and just put it in a bag. It's just interesting stuff. So I want to make an earth, a big purse with earth tones, something I can use, not when grocery shopping, but like when I go to the casino. I carry my Rick, how could I suddenly forget his name? Rick. Rick's bag is just a basic canvas bag. Okay. So I want to make a bag that will replace that. More stylishly. Rick Moranis, duh. I did not get as much sleep as I needed, so my brain's a little bit askew today. Okay, 20 minutes and then I'm going to go make lunch. Let's see how that other thing is doing. Now I'm not getting enough shrinkage yet, although it is shrinking. Now once this is properly felted, it can be cut like any piece of fabric and sewn like a fabric if that's what you want to do. think we still have plenty of soap in here. Let's add a little bit more water. Interesting. Well, some of this llama fur is felting. I mean, they say it will felt, but it takes a lot longer than wool, which is why you mix it with wool to make it felt better. I don't know the way this is so fine if I'd want to try it 100% pure llama, but I think I'm liking this method of using it as a finishing coat. I'll just see how soft and silky it is when it's completely felted, and we'll decide what I'm going to make with it. Might be something that's great for a scarf, a winter scarf. It's warm, very warm. No, you're not felting right now. Let's give you a little bit more water. And felt from the back. Now, for those of you who might be watching and you're trying to learn something from me, good luck. I will give you tips that I learned, but I am just what you might call an advanced beginner. So I don't want to be seen as a teacher, other than I can guide you about some things that I have learned. Like use room temperature water when you're wetting your wet felt, because if it's too warm it'll shrink it too fast. Also, whatever you are working on, if you need it to stay dry so it doesn't felt, so you can felt later, you want to cover those little spots with plastic and don't get them wet, or don't let them touch. They will felt. Just like this is felting on its own. There's no wool behind it, that this little spot This little spot is felting anyway. So that's pretty cool. Not what I'm trying for, but it is showing me what it can do on its own without the wool. Okay, let's give it some dimples. Now, oops, I went way over the sides of this, so this is not going to be a great gauge. We're not seeing a huge amount of shrinkage, although we are seeing some. It's starting to feel more felted. Not bad. Nope, there's another one. Okay. Funny how this is bringing the little stray hairs to the top. Okay, we're getting some good shrinkage now for sure. This is a method to tighten up the felting. Although it's not holding together very well, I'm going to try the long way. I've been here 2 hours? Been here 2 hours. You guys back yet? Oh, good. Okay, I'm going to go make my lunch, and I'll be back this afternoon. We've got a whole pile of stuff to play with that I want to use up. So I'm making the hurricane lamps to give away at bingo. I get practice, I get to make a thing of beauty, and someone else gets to enjoy it. So tomorrow is Monday. Tomorrow's bingo night. I will not be here tomorrow in all likelihood because I have to cook a meal for the bingo crowd. And I'm going to make something I never made before, so I'm going to want to do that without distraction. Overactive, huh? Did you get that rain? Yeah, we're getting good shrinkage. We're starting to get some curls of the llama fur in the front. Yeah, see, here we go. All right, so we want to shrink this way. I'll try this. Quick shower. Yeah, I did not get as much here as I hoped for. Not anywhere near as much as I hoped for, but the air smelled so good. Oh, I opened the windows. I had to close them for the rain, but I left a little bit open so I get some fresh air. Well, this morning it was a mistake because of the pollen in the trees, and I'm surrounded by the trees that are pollinating right now. It didn't look bad, and I was like I said, I needed some fresh air, even if it was laden with pollen. But this morning at 3 o'clock, I was up with a headache and a body ache, and I was like, oh shit. I ended up having to take a pain pill and then try to sleep. So my sleep was definitely not the best last night. I finally got back to sleep and slept until 8 or something around there. I can't remember. In any case, it was one of those nights. So I'll try and do better tonight. I'll just close everything up and put the air purifier on. Oh, good. We are getting the shrinkage. All right, I am going to wash the soap out of this, and we'll bring it back to the table after lunch. Oh, did you have a bad night too? I was a disrupted night. Well, your baby got you up extra early, it sounded like. I said, I'll worry about it when I get there. Today I've got things to do. Like come back here and work on this. All right, this is doing well. The lighter brown, you can, I don't know if you can see it yet, but it's come up a bit between the fur of the llama. And that's important for it to be embedded. Cyrus. That's not good. You're giving away your situation to others. Anyway, cats listen better if you whisper. They don't like yelling. When you whisper, they have to get closer. They want to see what's going on. You have to captivate their imagination and curiosity. My neighbors never hear me. People have thought I've moved because I'm so quiet. All right, now we're getting closer to a square. All right, we did it. The llama hair is in this, in the wool, and vice versa. So I'm going to go ahead and wash this. We'll be back to take a look at it after lunch. Well, yeah, Maui, most of them are, especially if you've rescued them. They want your love. They want your attention. Animals have personalities and feelings. They don't want to be neglected. They don't want to feel like, oh sure, he wants me at this time of day, but he doesn't want me the rest of the time of day. People forget how much they really feel and think. Like, I hate that my girlfriend goes away days at a time and leaves her cat with nobody there. She just fills up extra water, extra food, and extra kitty litter. And that cat goes 3 days alone, and I hate that for the cat. So of course when she gets home, the cat's really needy, but she doesn't get it through her head that the cat is afraid she's never coming back. When you are gone, when you change your schedule, cats do not understand that. They're very adaptable, but they go to your schedule, and if your schedule changes, they get upset. It's like, what's going on? And if you're gone with no explanation, you get depressed. And so her cat gets depressed for days at a time. But she likes coming home to a needy cat. Because I offered so many times, like, I'll take care of her. I don't mind. It's not a big deal for me. I'll visit her once a day. Turn on the TV for her. But she doesn't make that connection. Which is why we're friends, but we'll never be best friends. I figure anybody who treats an animal one way is likely to treat people the same way. And with friends, like with animals, I like to know they're going to be there, just like I like to be there for my pets. This is going to be pretty. I think we're going to be able to do a nice purse when it's time. All right, buddies, I will